Did you know that there's a number of cons to buying a mortgage with only a 10% deposit? But there's actually about 5 pros, and I'm going to go through them with you right now. But before I do that, I wanted to tell you a story about some clients who came to me a number of months ago, and when they came, they just wanted to have a chat about their general situation, and they just wanted to know what do they need to do to get into their first house. So just through a general chat in a cafe for about half an hour, I was able to work out for them that actually they're in a position to actually go for a pre-approval now. And would you believe it, within 3 weeks, they've not only made an offer, but they've secured a house. So from the time from that conversation to 3 weeks later, they've actually scored a house. It's pretty amazing. So anyway, con number 1. When you have a 10% deposit mortgage, you're going to have a higher interest rate and you're going to pay more interest. This is actually true. So this is the reverse of that, is that it is true. You will get a higher interest rate if you've got a 10% deposit, but it is only temporary. You're only going to pay that higher interest rate for probably 1 or 2 years, because in that time your mortgage will come down, your value of your house will go up, and before you know it, you'll be at 20% equity. And once you're at 20% equity, you then get the lower interest rates, which is what you're wanting to get. Okay, so that's fantastic. Number 2, you have to pay for a registered valuation when you're getting buying a house and you've only got a 10% deposit. This is true. You do have to pay for a registered valuation, and this usually costs about $750. But you don't have to get a registered valuation on every house that you make an offer on. You're actually only doing this for the house that your offer gets accepted on. So you probably only have to buy one, and so that will cost you about $750, but that is a small price to pay for getting into your first house, right? So that's still actually pretty reasonable. Number 3, when you take on a mortgage with a 10% deposit, you're taking on a bigger mortgage because it's 90% lending or a 90% mortgage. This is true, but in most situations in New Zealand, rents are about the same as what your mortgage repayments are going to be, even with a 90% mortgage. So you can decide, do you want to pay your landlord's mortgage or do you want to pay your own mortgage? Because you'll find that the repayments are actually going to be really similar. And in some cases, your mortgage repayments will even be less for some areas of New Zealand. So, so there's a strong argument there for just getting in there and having a go. Number 4, buying a house or getting a mortgage means you're taking on lots of debt. That's why I've got these stones in my hands, in case you're wondering. Because at the time that you buy a house, you are taking on lots of debt. There's no doubt about it. So your debt might be this big, and the actual value of your house might be this big. So I'm showing you both because you need to look at both sides of the ledger. Yes, you are taking on debt, but you're also taking on an asset, and this is worth more than this. And at the beginning, it might not be worth heaps more than this one, but it is still bigger. But this is just your starting point. You're only going to be there for a short time, because over the years, months and years that pass, you're going to pay down the mortgage and the house is going to go up in value. So eventually you're going to get here. This will be your mortgage. This will be the value of your house. But to get there, you've got to start with the other stones. So it's a process, right? Starting early, you get there eventually. Right. Number 5, houses are getting more expensive. This is true. Houses are getting more expensive. Nearly all areas in New Zealand, we can see that the value of houses are going up. Even some of the smaller towns and more regional areas of New Zealand as well. So that's even more of a reason to just get into a house now. What are you waiting for? Okay, the longer you wait, the more it's going to go up. Now, you could argue that you're going to save a bigger deposit. Okay, it's unlikely that you can save as fast as what houses are going up in value. So I'd suggest that if you've got a 10% deposit and there's a bank willing to give you some funds, get in there. It's probably going to get worse or get more difficult the longer that you wait. All right. Okay. So in conclusion, accommodation always costs. Okay. You can pay your landlord's mortgage or you can pay your own mortgage. Either way, you're paying a mortgage. So accommodation always costs. You just decide which mortgage you want to pay, yours or somebody else's. If you find this whole narrative interesting and you want to find out more about how you can get into your first home and with your first mortgage, then I'd recommend that you go to our Get Mortgage Ready Hub. And you can sign up there for free. There's a number of videos, information, action plans in there that will help you get ready for applying for your first mortgage. And you can get an action plan even around how to increase your deposit. So really positive stuff. Get Mortgage Ready Hub. We'll see you there. Thanks. And by the way, I'm not lactating. It's raining.